Cable Bahamas has always been considered the innovator.
People can have confidence in Cable Bahamas as a mobile operator because of our past history. We've proven to the Bahamian community that we are in fact able to manage additional services as a telecommunications company.
Customers expect the best from Cable Bahamas.
The technology that we bring is revolutionary technology because we know that the Bahamian public, they deserve it, and Cable Bahamas is here to bring it to them.
We are ready. Turn us on.
Thelma Gibson Primary remembers young drowning victim Gabrielle McKinney. The Labor Minister hits out at Scotiabank's restructuring exercise. The man at the center of the Alfred Gray controversy files an appeal. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NV12 starts right now. Helping news tonight, it was a somber morning at Thelma Gibson Primary School today as students and teachers paused to remember 6-year-old Gabrielle McKinney, who died alongside her 3-year-old sister Alicia and 36-year-old mother Shamika McKinney after their car plunged into waters off Montague last week. School officials today recalled the quiet yet well-spoken young victim who had a gift of making people smile. Kyle Joaquin reports.
I'm standing here at the desk of little Gabrielle McKinney. In just about 2 weeks, she would have been turning 7 years old. But today, her classmates and the entire Thelma Gibson Primary School family remember the little girl. They said, loved to share her toys, loved to share her candy, but most of all, she loved to sing.
G-A-B-R-I-E-L, Gabrielle.
The classmates of 6-year-old Gabrielle McKinney paying tribute to their friend who will no longer sit among them in class. Gabrielle, or Honey, was said to be very popular and someone everyone liked to be around. But her star quickly faded on the night of March 22nd when she, her mother Shamika, and her 3-year-old sister Alicia drowned in a blue Toyota Avalon in waters off Montague. Her mother was said to have been in a depressed state of mind in the times leading up to their deaths. The news sent shockwaves throughout the country. But today, Thelma Gibson Primary remembered the girl who everyone loved.
Her kind-heartedness, her love for others, are unmatched. I am sure that the bond that Gabrielle shared with us, particularly with grade 2S and Mrs. Burrows, will always linger in our hearts.
At times, even the students were washed away in tears. They adorned the backdrop of Gabrielle's special assembly with teddy bears. Gabrielle's teacher said it was hard not just for her when they received the news, but for her students as well. The questions they had, she said, at times were too difficult to answer.
They bombarded me with a lot of questions the next morning. So some were, why didn't her mother put on the brakes? Why did her mother do that? Did she love her? Did Gabrielle know what happened to her? Is she's going to come back next week? Those are the questions I had to deal with, and it was very difficult to explain that to them.
But now I'm sure they understand.
Yes, they do.
It was hard for Burrows to make it through the interview. She said she remembers Gabrielle's big smile and how well-mannered she was. She said the last time she saw Gabrielle, she was sick and asked her to call her mother. She left school early that day, but just before she did, she gave her a hug and said bye.
She was an excellent reader. She was a very smart girl. She was a very popular girl in the class. Children, all the kids wanted to be her friend, so they really felt it when she died. She was always helpful. She always volunteered to help. She was loving, kind-hearted, anything what a little girl should be, she was.
On her desk, draped with a pink cloth, each of Gabrielle's classmates wrote a letter and placed it in a basket. One of them read, "Dear Gabrielle, I miss you. I hope you are happy where you are. I saw your desk at your old school. It had a pink tablecloth and a bunny on top. I wish you had not passed away so that you could share this special moment with us friends. I hope you are happy in heaven. I miss you very much. Your friend, Kiara." Bahamas Harvest Church pastor Mario Moxie gave a brief sermon at the assembly and encouraged the students to remember that, like Gabrielle, each of them possessed something special.
Now the Bible says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. all of you students have been fearfully and wonderfully made by God Himself. All of you are exceptional. You are unique. There's something about you that's unlike anyone else. And Gabby allowed that to shine in her life.
After speaking, Moxie prayed a special prayer for Gabrielle's classmates, touching each one of them before he prayed for her family. Gabrielle's great-grandmother, overcome with grief, clung to Moxie and wept as he laid hands on her. The school gave flowers and a plaque to Gabrielle's family, and a tree was planted in the school's garden in her memory. At the end of it all, balloons with words "Until we meet again" were released into the air by her classmates as they bid their final farewell. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Minister of Labor and National Insurance Shane Gibson put Scotiabank on blast today following the bank's announcement that 8 Bahamas branches and up to 50 workers would be impacted by a restructuring exercise. Gibson says, why not let go of some work permit holders instead? He asserted some institutions are more concerned about their bottom line than the community. Vani Toot reports.
Labor Minister Shane Gibson says he finds it disturbing that Scotiabank would even consider letting go up to 50 employees as part of its restructuring exercise when the bank hasn't asked for one work permit to be canceled. He says it's something his ministry plans to look into.
I don't know how many work permit holders they have at Scotiabank, right? And I personally find it very disturbing when you could let go or agree to consider letting 50 Bahamians go and to not ask us to cancel one single work permit. And so it would have, been, acceptable to us if you would at least say, okay, and I don't know, like I said, how many work permit holders they have, but if they would say, we have 1, 2, or 3 work permit holders, we need to let go 50 Bahamians, and we ask you now to withdraw this one work permit holder because we no longer need them.
Is that something you plan to look into? How many work permit holders they have?
I have to.
Gibson would not say if work permits came up during his meeting with bank officials last Friday. However, he said he needs the bank to know that is a major concern for the government. After months of speculation, Scotiabank announced on Monday that 8 of its Bahamas branches and possibly 50 employees will be affected by a restructuring process expected to continue over the next 6 months. However, bank officials say they are working to minimize the impact by exploring relocation opportunities for impacted employees who are qualified. Gibson said it is difficult for affected workers to learn about job cuts through the media, adding he found news of the restructuring disturbing.
Scotiabank got all of the best years here in the Bahamas from individuals who would have banked with them, and for them to learn now that they no longer have access to their facility in Long Island, Eleuthera, and in Cooperstown. It is disappointing to customers, first of all, and secondly, it is disappointing to workers who would have spent, in some cases, many years at Scotiabank and were really not looking forward to being made redundant.
Managing Director of Scotiabank Bahamas, Sean Albert, said the restructuring follows Scotiabank's global review of its operating model and international distribution network. The labor minister says it appears as if some institutions are more interested in their profit margins than service to the community.
All I'm saying is this seems to be more of the fashion these days, where employers seem to have a very easy time, even though they say it's difficult for them. They seem to have a very easy time making employees redundant. I think all of them are now being driven by not what service they could provide to the community, but they're being driven by their bottom.
The restructuring will include the closure of some branches and the consolidation of others. 4 branches are to be consolidated. That's Caves Village into Cable Beach, Wolf Road and East Street into Thompson Boulevard, Marlborough into Rawson Square, and Cooperstown Abaco into Marsh Harbor. 2 branches will be closed, Stella Maris in Long Island and North Eleuthera. Gibson says they also discussed compensation for those affected workers during their recent meeting with bank officials.
We are satisfied that they are compensating them, but then it's all relative because the way the law is now, I mean, it speaks to how much you're compensated. I think it just helps us to understand more why we have to look at revising our laws in the Bahamas to make sure that if employers are now looking more and more about making employees redundant in this fashion, then we have to make sure that employees after putting in many years in these establishments will be properly compensated.
Scotiabank said in a statement it is committed to treating employees fairly, equitably, and with respect. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Tude.
An appeal has been filed for the 19-year-old man who was released outright by Meguana Administrator Zephaniah Newbold on March 19th. According to a court document obtained by the Nassau Guardian, Christina Galanos, the attorney for 19-year-old Jaquan Charlton, filed the appeal last Friday. She's appealing on multiple grounds. The notice of appeal states, under all the circumstances of the case, the decision is unsafe and unsatisfactory, referring to Newbold's decision to convict Charlton. In addition, the notice of appeal says the administrator refused to allow Charlton an opportunity to seek medical assistance before proceeding with the case. Charlton was released after Mike Allen P. v. Alfred Gray spoke to Newbold about his options not long after he convicted Charlton of resisting arrest, obscene language, disorderly behavior, and assaulting a police officer. He was sentenced to 3 months in prison. Allegations that Mike Allen P. v. Alfred Gray interfered with the course of justice are now under a police investigation and have caused members of the opposition to call for his resignation.